there's a face you put on to meet the world. The competent one at work, the easygoing one with friends, the fine thanks. How are you one you wear without even deciding to? And there's a quiet question almost no one lets themselves ask. If you took all of those off, every role, every performance, every version of you shaped to be acceptable, who would actually be left? Carl Jung gave that social face a name. He called it the persona, the mask, and he warned of something that has only grown truer with time, that we can wear the mask so well for so long that we forget we are wearing it at all. We mistake the performance for the person. If you have ever achieved everything you were supposed to and still felt like a stranger to yourself, like nobody actually knows you, including you, this is for you. Not because something is broken in you, but because the mask did its job a little too well. By the end, you'll understand what the mask is, why you built it, the quiet cost of confusing it with your real self, and how to find the face beneath it without burning your life down. Stay with me. Let's begin with what the persona actually is, because Jung did not think it was bad. The word comes from the mask worn by actors in the ancient theater, the face held up to the audience. Your persona is the version of you that you present to the world, the manners, the roles, the carefully chosen self that meets other people, and you need it. A person with no persona at all would be impossible, blurting every thought, unable to hold a job, raw and unprotected in every interaction. The mask is how we move through society. It lets the shy feel composed, the overwhelmed appear capable, the private stay protected. So this is not a story about destroying the mask. Jung was clear that a healthy persona is an achievement, a flexible, well-made face you can wear when you need it and set down when you don't. The danger is not having a mask. The danger is forgetting you can take it off. Jung described the persona, in his own words, as a compromise between individual and society, the negotiated face, part you and part what the world requires. A good one is like a good coat. It fits, it suits the weather, and crucially, it comes off when you get home. The problem is never the coat. It's the day you realize you've been sleeping in it for years and can no longer find the clasp. And notice you don't wear one mask, but many. A face for work, another for your parents, another for strangers, another for the people you're trying to impress. That isn't dishonesty. It's social skill, and moving fluidly between them is a sign of health, not falseness. The trouble starts only when one of them swallows the rest, when the pleasing self, or the strong self, or the successful self stops being a face you can lower and becomes the only face you own. So how does something so useful become a trap? It happens slowly, and it begins early. From the time we are small, we learn which parts of us are welcomed and which are not. The version of us that earns love, approval, safety, that version gets reinforced, rehearsed, rewarded until it becomes automatic. And the parts that got us rejected, the anger, the strangeness, the need, the wild ideas, we quietly tuck away. Think of Adam, who learned at 6 that the house was calm when he was good, helpful, undemanding, easy. So he became, brilliantly, the easy one. The role earned him love at home, top marks at school, trust at work. By 40, he was the man everyone relied on and no one worried about. He was also, in a way he could not explain to anyone, exhausted in his bones, because being the easy one had quietly become a full-time performance with no intermission. and he had played it so long he no longer knew who was underneath. And our age makes this harder than ever. We now build and broadcast our personas constantly, a profile to maintain, an image to curate, a highlight reel where even our struggles get styled for an audience. Never have humans had so many tools for polishing the mask and so few invitations to take it off. Jung warned of this danger almost a century ago. He could not have imagined how loud it would grow. Over years, the rewarded face hardens into a default. We get so much approval for the mask that we double down on it. We become the dependable one, the strong one, the nice one, the successful one, and the role works. It earns us exactly what we were told to want. The trouble is that it works so well, we stop noticing it's a role at all. The mask stops being something we wear and starts feeling like something we are. Jung described this as identifying with the persona, collapsing the whole of who you are into the narrow face you show. And when that happens, a strange and specific kind of suffering begins. This is the part Jung wanted us to understand. The mask was meant to be a tool, and somewhere along the way, the tool started wearing the person. You no longer choose the face chooses for you, in every room, automatically, even when no one's asking it to. Here is what it feels like from the inside, and you may recognize it. On paper, everything is right. You're doing what you're supposed to, you're good at it, people approve. And underneath runs a quiet, persistent emptiness, the sense that no one really knows you, that you'd be exposed if they did, that the applause is for a character and not for you. This is the loneliness that has nothing to do with being around people. You can be admired by everyone and known by no one, because the self everyone admires is the mask, and the real self has been backstage so long it has gone silent. Jung saw a real danger here. The more completely you identify with the persona, the more the rest of you, everything you exile to maintain the act, builds up in the unconscious. And what is denied does not disappear. It leaks out, in sudden emptiness, in a strange resentment toward the life you built, in the quiet question at 3 a.m. of whether any of this is even yours. The exiled parts don't rot quietly. The ambition you never admitted, the art you never made, the anger you never voiced, the life you didn't choose because it wasn't the acceptable one. They gather in the dark and press on the underside of the polished life until even your successes taste faintly of something you can't name. People call it a midlife crisis. Often it's simpler and sadder. Everything you left out of the mask, finally sending the bill. The mask that was supposed to protect your life starts quietly costing you it. The most successful looking people often suffer this most, because their mask is the most rewarded, and so the most dangerous to take off. Mara had spent 15 years becoming exactly who she was supposed to be: accomplished, gracious, admired. At the party celebrating her biggest success, surrounded by people raising glasses to her, she felt a wave of something she had no name for and almost couldn't bear, a complete stranger's loneliness standing in the middle of her own life. Everyone in the room loved her. Not one of them, she realized, had ever actually met her. The woman they were toasting was a performance so seamless that even she had lost the thread of where it ended and she began. And this is where it turns, because the emptiness is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the way back. That hollow feeling, that sense of being a stranger to yourself, is not a malfunction. It is the buried self, knocking. It is the part of you that never made it into the mask, finally pressing hard enough to be felt. Most people, when this knock comes, rush to silence it. More achievement, more performance, a better mask. But Jung would say the feeling is precious. It is the truest thing about you trying to get back in. Often it arrives as a kind of crisis, a success that feels strangely like grief, a milestone that brings emptiness instead of joy, a quiet refusal to keep playing a role you've outgrown. We treat these as breakdowns. Jung saw them as the psyche's attempt to break you open, to crack the mask just enough that the real face can finally breathe. This is why the people who look most put together sometimes fall apart in ways that baffle everyone, including themselves. It isn't weakness, and it isn't random. It is the buried self, after years of patience, finally refusing to stay buried. The breakdown, seen rightly, is a breakthrough wearing a frightening costume, the first honest thing that has happened in a long time. You can feel this turn in small ways too, long before any crisis. The flash of irritation at performing cheer you don't feel, the exhaustion after a day of being on, the strange relief of being alone where no face is required. These aren't signs that something is wrong with you. They're signs that someone real is still in there and getting tired of being kept off stage. The discomfort is not the problem. It is the invitation. So how do you find the self beneath the persona, without, as people fear, blowing up your whole life? You don't begin by tearing off the mask in public. You begin quietly by noticing it. Start to catch the moments you're performing, the laugh that isn't quite yours, the yes that should have been a no, the opinion you voiced because it was expected. You're not judging it. You're just seeing the seam between the mask and the face, and that seeing alone begins to loosen the fusion. You'll be surprised how much of an ordinary day is performance once you start watching for the seam. How many of your smiles are reflexive? How many of your opinions are borrowed? How much of what you call you was quietly assembled years ago to be approved of? This isn't cause for shame. Most people never glimpse it at all. And there is a quiet freedom in the noticing itself, because a mask you can see is a mask you can finally choose whether to wear. The fusion only holds in the dark. Then ask the questions the mask spent years drowning out. What do I actually want underneath what I'm supposed to want? What did I bury to become acceptable? When do I feel most like myself, and when most like an actor? And finally, you let small pieces of the real self come into the open. Not a dramatic unmasking, just truth in doses. One honest answer, one genuine no, one place where you let yourself be seen instead of admired. It will feel uncomfortable at first, and that discomfort is worth naming because it's where most people turn back. After years of performing, being real can feel exposed, as if the mask were modest and the truth were showing off. It isn't. The mask was the performance. This is just you, no longer auditioning. Each small act of authenticity does something the mask never could. It lets you be loved for what is actually you, which is the only thing that ever heals the loneliness of being admired for what isn't. Julian began with something almost laughably small. He stopped saying, "no problem," when something was, in fact, a problem. Just that. One honest word at a time. It felt risky, even rude, after a lifetime of smoothing everything over. But slowly, the people around him began responding to someone real instead of someone agreeable. And for the first time, The closeness he felt wasn't aimed at a character he was playing. He didn't burn his life down. He just stopped auditioning for it. This is the slow, real work Jung pointed toward. Not destroying the mask, but loosening your grip on it until you are the one wearing it again instead of the other way around. So here's the question to sit with tonight. If you set down every role you perform, every version of you built to be accepted, what is the truest thing that would still be there? Tell me in the comments. Where in your life do you feel most like you're wearing a mask? Naming it is the first crack of light. I read every reply. And if this reached the part of you behind the performance, subscribe and stay close. We're learning to take the mask off, gently, one piece at a time. In the next video, we follow that exact thread into the particular loneliness of feeling unknown even when you're surrounded by people, and what Jung believed it is really asking of you. Because the goal was never to have no face to show the world. It was to remember there's a real one underneath, and that it was always allowed to be seen.